Hi, this is John Farhat with Lookwanter. Congratulations on starting your new business. It's actually a very exciting time, especially now that you are ready to take that business out of a one-man show and take the show on the road, if you will. But as you're doing that, you have to think about ways that you want to communicate with your customers and vendors. For the longest time, as you work on a startup, there was just yourself working in the business. And so a cell phone sufficed. However, as you move between that startup, between yourself only, into a group of people working for that business, then what you need is a phone system that portrays your business as a professional business that people are wanting to do business with. The importance of that is clear because this is the first method of contact that your new customers will have to communicate with you. So as you're evaluating different options, you want to look at systems that can offer you flexibility, that will offer you capabilities that you do not currently have. So what are some of the things that you can expect from a modern phone system? Well, there are lots of features that you may not currently have that phone system is going to give you. For example, some systems will give you the ability to record every incoming or outgoing call. Some systems will allow you to send voicemail to email. Some systems will allow you to record phone calls in the middle of having that conversation. There are legalities associated with making these recordings, and you want to check with an attorney to ensure that it is legal where you are setting it up. There are times when getting an 800 number to interact and connect to your system can sometimes take a little longer, especially if you're trying to get a vanity number. And the pricing on toll-free numbers can be even more expensive than regular phone numbers. There are options with some of these PBX systems to do disaster recovery so that on the back end, if there is a problem, it can fail over to a different service and your phone system remains up and running. So you want to investigate what features you want and what functionality you think you would like to have before you buy that system. There are two options on how you can have your system. A, you can either buy the system and have it installed at the location that you are in. However, in order to do that, you want to be careful to inspect the building that you are moving into to make sure that the building is wired for data, which is computer wiring. It's called Cat5, rather than for voice, which used to be called Cat3. Most modern telephone systems will work on Cat5, but will not work on the older Cat3 wiring. So if your building does not have Cat5 wiring, then you want to be careful that that could be an expense that you will have to incur as you are building your new system. So now let's assume that you got into a building and realize that the wiring is wrong and that you need to rewire it. That could be expensive because some of these drops for data could be somewhere between $75 and $150 each. And so you may want to think about whether you can do everything wirelessly. And with some of these modern phone systems, the phones themselves will in fact connect to the system via Wi-Fi. So if you make your choices based on the ability of the phone to connect via Wi-Fi, maybe you can bypass that whole expense of rewiring the building that you need to go into. And keep in mind that you're building this new system so that your group can work as a team and that you are able to transfer calls between the team and to have one phone number represent your company and your services and your offerings, and make sure that when people call you, that there is a unique way that your company is being presented. If you choose to go with an on-site phone system, otherwise known as a PBX system, you want to make sure that the building where you want to put it has space that's dedicated to that. And you want to make sure that that space is in fact cooled, because the phone system will likely look like a little computer and it will generate heat, and you want that heat to be dissipated so that you are not causing problems for that system. Alternatively, you could use what is known as a cloud telephone system or a hosted telephone system. In the case of a cloud or a hosted telephone system, you do not have any equipment on site other than the phones themselves, or potentially a small piece of equipment that will act as a conduit between your location and the location of the service provider that you have used for your phone system. Most service providers will offer you a portal that you can log in and program these phones on your own. So you want to be cognizant of the fact that some of the service providers are a do-it-yourselfer service provider versus a done-for-you service provider. The do-it-yourselfer service provider expects that you will buy the equipment, the telephones, install them, and they may have some videos showing you how to do things, but that they will not get involved in your setup unless there is a major problem that you are unable to fix on your own. In a done-for-you environment, the service provider will in fact program the phones, get them all ready and tested before they are shipped into your location. As a new business owner, you may be saving a few bucks by going with a do-it-yourself or service provider. However, the time that you will be spending to work on these systems can be best used to help your business grow by calling and talking to new customers. And so, if given the option between a do-it-yourselfer or a done-for-you, think about the value of the time that it's going to take and potentially make a slightly more expensive choice for the done-for-you method. Now that you have selected which phone system you want to have, whether it's a cloud system or an on-site system, then you want to think through the process of how a call gets processed once a call comes in. And you want to choose how you want your extensions to be set up. For example, do you want your extensions to be 3-digit extensions or 4-digit extensions? Do you want to have multiple locations eventually connected to that one phone system? Do you want to have a master location and then any subsidiary locations attached to that line? And so there are many different options to consider, and those options will reflect your current need, but also need to reflect your future needs. Next, you will want to think about the incoming call, and that's one of the most important things that you will do in making your choice of a phone system. What that incoming call is going to look like and how it is going to be handled is critical, because this is your first interaction with your potential customers and your existing customers. So you want to think very clearly about that whole process. And some options could be you have that call sent to answering service that will then forward the calls to you. Or if you have people in the office, you may want to consider whose phones ring first and then whose phones ring after that if the call is not answered. Because a big part of growing your business is making sure that you are not the one answering all the calls all the time. And you want to make sure that those calls do get answered in as personal a way as possible. And then the last thing you want to make sure that you have is a good internet connection. That internet connection is what routes and moves those calls for you. And so that internet connection, the more reliable variation you have, the better it is. Usually, I would try to stay away from DSL type internet connections. They tend to be the least reliable. The most reliable being fiber-based internet, but that is expensive. So you want something probably in the middle. That tends to be in a cable modem type installation. And you want to make sure that the provider of that cable modem is not going to be interfering with the calls or how the calls go through. So before you buy your internet service, you want to select your communication system provider and validate that they will be able to work with that internet service provider. And then you want to validate that your equipment will communicate with that service provider. And then the final thing, you want to make sure that your system can in fact fit and work within the office space that you have selected. Once you do all that, now you have a phone system to present to the world that represents your business in the way that you want it represented. So now you have selected everything and you are ready to have a phone system installed. How long is it going to take for that to happen? The answer is it depends. It depends on the type of system that you have selected. Some of the online do-it-yourself or phone systems, you can log in, choose a number, forward it to your cell phone, and you could be up and running within half a day to a day. But if you want something more substantial that allows you to have extensions and users and different people interacting with the systems and different interactions with the systems, then you want that to take the amount of time that it's going to take to happen. And usually that could take a few days to a couple, 3 weeks, especially if you are buying equipment and that equipment needs to be delivered to your location. And that equipment, whether it is the PBX itself, and if you're buying an internal PBX and want to install it in your premise, that could even take longer than 3 weeks. It could be anywhere between 3 to 5 weeks. You have to have somebody who can program it for you. If you are only buying the phones because you're connecting to a cloud phone system, then maybe 2 to 3 weeks could be an average time for that installation to take place. So as you are thinking about getting a phone system, try not to rush it. Try to make sure that there is enough time for all this stuff to happen without getting everything garbled up and things installed incorrectly, and then you're going to have to rework a lot of custom functions and custom setups. Thank you for listening. I am John Farhat with Laquandr, and you can reach me if you have any questions at 614-582-1061.